Well, Prof, there's a story in the papers today.
That's who we are.
Well, Prof, there's a story in the papers today saying that you, as a leader of the Yoruba self-determination movement, you have now written to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to say that Yorubas would like to break away from Nigeria through negotiations. Do you think that President Tinubu will allow his government to sit at a table with some Yoruba people saying they want to break away from Nigeria when Section 2 of the Constitution says that Nigeria is indissoluble and indivisible?
Before I like you guys to hear his response, because this is a very huge question that was asked, and remember that this was what Nnamdi Kanu was asking for, and you hear what he said, that he wrote letter to Tinubu. That means Tinubu was aware that these Yorubas are looking for separation from Nigeria, and then why is Nnamdi Kanu arrested or detained, but yet those people are not arrested? That's what Igbo discrimination. Now watch this video.
That's what the Constitution of Nigeria says. But the law of Nigeria also, part of the law of Nigeria says that self-determination is a legitimate right. Well, because when the United Nations passed the declaration, Nigeria was a signatory to it. Nigeria brought the law, that declaration, to the National Assembly. The National Assembly approved it, and the President of Nigeria signed it. That made it part of the law of Nigeria. The same thing with the Africa Charter of human and people's rights. And courts in Nigeria have made the statement that fighting for self-determination is not unlawful in Nigeria. So we are not doing anything unlawful.
Yes, sir.
And we have no reason to want to stop it.
But sir, correct me if I'm wrong. The same Nigerian constitution says that even when we sign international covenants and conventions, it becomes law in Nigeria when it is domesticated. Now, you are an Awoist. You were part of the Awo movement and all of that. Awo, the late sage, wanted self-determination in the constitution, 1916, 1963. He never succeeded. And the Nigerian constitution does not allow anybody to say they want to break away from any part of Nigeria. So I don't know. I mean, you are the teacher of history.
The law, the laws of Nigeria allows individual Nigerians or groups of Nigerians to advocate for self-determination for their people. That cannot be contradicted. The laws of Nigeria allows peoples in Nigeria to advocate for the self-determination of their people.
But do you have any expectation that President Tinubu will sit down and negotiate for the Yorubas to leave Nigeria when he is himself a Yoruba man?
That is the business of the president. He will do what he thinks is good for the country. We will do what we think is good for our own nation from Nigeria. No matter how much you pander, you can tell me, oh, is President Tinubu going to sit with us and so on? It's his duty to sit with us. That's his duty. The law says so. We write a letter to the president. It is his duty to answer us and to. Yeah, he can say no, what you are asking for, I won't grant it. But he has no right to say, he has no duty to tell us, I will not answer your letter.
But sir,
he has a duty to answer our letter.
You raised these same issues under the Buhari administration. President Buhari did not just ignore. Yes. He went after Sunday Igboho and he showed that his government would not allow any kind of challenge from anybody, whether Yoruba or Igbo. Why would President Tinubu listen to you, even when you said you were not interested in the election?
Yeah, the president can say that as much as they like, but the president cannot unilaterally change the law of the land. That's the truth. The president, it is the duty of the president to say, oh, this country, I will preserve its unity. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But that does not negate the lawful right of the people of Yoruba land or whatever part of Nigeria to seek for their self-determination. That's the truth.
But anyway,
The important thing, however, and I'm surprised that you are not talking about that, is that the Yoruba people who are fighting for self-determination are telling the world and telling themselves that they will do it only peacefully. We are Yoruba. We know our status in the world. We know our status in the black world. We do not want to destroy the peace of Nigeria, and we do not want to bring difficulty into the lives of any other group in Nigeria. But we want to get out of Nigeria. That's it. We started with a country with a great deal of resources, which is why the British have zeroed in on Nigeria, particularly in Africa. It is the reason for the amalgamation itself, because the British saw that this is a country with a great deal of resources, and that can be developed. The British will gain from it, but we ourselves will also gain from it. It has not exactly worked like that. We have earned a lot of money from our resources, from originally our farm produce, like palm oil, palm kernels, cocoa especially. We were one of the largest cocoa producers in the world for some time, and that brought a lot of money to Nigeria. We were for some time the largest producer, exporter of groundnut in the world, and so on. But we have destroyed everything. Now we are not seriously regarded as a major cocoa exporter in the world. We are no longer a groundnut exporting country. The groundnut industry has perished. We are no longer seriously a palm oil producing or palm kernel exporting country in the world. Yes, we see earn a lot of money from mineral oil, from petroleum, but the assets are declining very fearfully. And in any case, when you do a check of, we have not very little to show for the huge amount of money that we have earned from oil. We have created the most fearfully corrupt, most resolutely corrupt country on earth. And the world is wondering, can a country that has brought itself this far low ever be able to raise itself back up again? And with most people, the answer is no. We have now arrived at a point at which we are the most violent country on earth in terms of when there is no war. In peacetime, the most violent country on earth. Now, every day sometimes one fears to open the papers in the morning or to watch television before going to bed, because what you are going to be seeing stories of marauders, bandits going around and killing people and destroying property and so on and so forth. That's what we have become in Nigeria. We have become a country in which there is going on now a war of all against all. It is terrifying. I grew up in this country. I loved to know my country. As a young undergraduate, I used to travel in the country and go to the north, go to Zaria, go to just go and play around, you know, nothing particular. Young boy wants to know his country. Maiduguri, everywhere, Enugu, etc. But Accord, it is no longer so. Nigeria is as beautiful as ever. But Nigeria is not the beautiful country that we used to have. People are dying everywhere. I graduated from Ibadan in 1961. And, well, part of the story is that I got a job before I finished my final paper in Trenchard Hall. And my employer sent a vehicle to take me from my exam to my employment. That's the way it used to be. It's not only me. That's the way it was for us in our time. And the first thing I wanted to do for my students as a history teacher was to take them to go to know their country. And the kids were excited. I was only a little older than they were, you know. And they were excited. And so I selected about 25 kids. The principal gave us money to go and rent a lorry. Now, we didn't have buses in those days. Who had buses? Except perhaps Ojuku's, Odumego Ojuku's buses and so on. Who talked about buses? We went and rented a lorry, a good condition lorry, and we crowded into it, and it took us around Nigeria to the north, to Kaduna, Kano, back through Jos and Makurdi to eastern Nigeria, and back through Benin to, listen, it was, no, and there was not any notion, any fear that anything would hurt us on the way. We went 25 young boys and their young teacher and the driver of the vehicle. We went around Nigeria and nothing touched us anywhere. And there was not even the slightest fear in our heart that anything could hurt us. That's the kind of world in which I grew up in. In Kaduna, we didn't have any appointment to see the premier. Our father, Sir Ahmadu Bello, we never had any plan to see him. But we went to the Ministry of Education.
You paint a glorious picture.
Yeah, that's the way it was.
But this prevailing insecurity and perhaps economic downturn predates this administration. So, and much of the political class belong to your generation.
No, it is not.
So
this.
In that regard, I ask, what legacy has your generation bequeathed to the current Nigeria?
Yeah, okay. My generation is the generation immediately after people like Sir Ahmadu Bello, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. That we are the people, they are direct sons. And it is we who have educated. Nigeria is a considerably educated country, and it is my generation, the generation, you know, people will say, oh, we are the lost generation. It is not true. We have given a lot to this country. We were the backbone of the universities that grew up in this country. We were the young people who emerged immediately after independence and gave the world the University of Ibadan in its strength. It had started before, but it was in our time that it became a great place. It is in our time that the Obafemi Awolowo University became a great university. I was the first human being to live on the campus of Obafemi Awolowo University when it was being built. The university authorities said we will move, but most people were hesitant to go. Most of our seniors were hesitant to go. And on January 27, 1967, I was the first family to move into the campus. We gave that university a great thing. We developed some of the best academic programs ever known on the African continent in that university. So, and we were doing the same thing in Nsukka. We were doing the same thing in Zaria, our generation. We were, in 1982, when I was a senator, I was invited by the Institute of International Affairs of South Korea in Seoul to come and give a lecture on the prospects of growing relationship between Nigeria and South Korea. I was bragging for most of that lecture about my country, the things that we have done, the type of universities that we had built, some of the best universities in the world, some of the best medical schools, and so on. I was bragging. I had much to brag about. That was 1982.
Besides what you have to brag about, how much of the problems prevalent today should your generation take responsibility for?
It is the military people who wrecked this country essentially. They took over in 1966, and they took over and took over and took over. In the many years between 1966 and 1999, the military were the rulers. They were the people who determined what would happen. And their legacy is a barbarous legacy. That's why Nigeria has plunged the way it has plunged. So, yes, it's difficult to talk, for me, and for many people of my generation, it's difficult to talk without becoming emotional about Nigeria. We have seen the best thing, we have held the best thing in our hand, and we have seen it become almost nothing in our hands. It is a shattering history. It is a shattering history. Now we are killing one another every day, fiendishly, on a regular basis. We are killing one another as if that is a national industry. And the world is wondering what is happening in this place called Nigeria. I hear that among some of my colleagues, old retired professors like me in America, recently, people were talking, why is Professor Akintoye, why did he go back to that place? And so on. Shouldn't we contribute money to bring him back? He cannot be living there. One of them asked, is there a government in that country? And one very old man then answered, there isn't even a country in that country anymore. There isn't even a country, not to talk of a government. That's the attitude of the world. That's the perception of the world about Nigeria now. That's my country. The country. I used to travel a lot as a young man. I loved to travel. I represented Nigerian students in conference after conference in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, and so on, as an undergraduate. Then as a graduate, as a professor of history, and then director of African studies. I wanted to know the world, and I saw a lot of the world. One thing I always brought back when I was younger, when as an undergraduate I would go and represent Nigeria in an international students conference in Addis Ababa, in East Africa, in Nairobi, in Germany, and so on. I could see very clearly that my country was the promise for Africa. That it was the God-given duty and prospect of Nigeria to lead Africa out of barbarism, out of poverty, to the top of the mountains in the modern world. That's why I couldn't resist giving my time and even abandoning my career when Chief Awolowo came out of Calabar and came around and the Civil War was over. And he came around to our universities and said, come, let us go and build our country. We've had a terrible time. The war is over. We can build our country. We can rebuild our country. We can fulfill its promise. That was Chief Awolowo. And we started the whole intellectual movement towards the Unity Party of Nigeria on the campus of Obafemi Awolowo University. Yeah, we were fired by a desire to make this country a great country. I used to love to come from the meetings in Ekene or Ibadan or Lagos to my students in Ife and just go wild and just tell them, you know, what country we are going to build, what we are going to make of our country. Yes, the resources are there, the human beings are there, and so on and so forth. And between me and my students, we coined a phrase. We said we are going to make Nigeria the black man's world power of modern times. No. It's not easy for me to be talking about it. We were going to make Nigeria the black man's world power of modern times. And what has Nigeria become now?
Do you deny the efforts of this current political class to build Nigeria?
Who? Who has built Nigeria?
Do you deny the current efforts?
The what?
To salvage this insecurity in the Northeast and in fact the entire North?
How did we build? We built that. We created the Boko Haram. It is the circumstances of our country that created Boko Haram. It is the circumstances of our country that has created the Fulani herdsmen and militias and the ones you call the bandits and so on, killing people in every part of the North. It is the circumstances we have created. That's it. Everything leads to another thing. Everything comes from another thing. We built a country of violence, of hopeless people who go violent. That's it. There is and the potential for more violence is here. The potential for more violence than we are seeing now is here.
I believe you watched the video, you heard many things that they said in that video, but my own is that why does they select people that go punished for a crime? Because they say that this was a crime that nobody should be asking for Nigeria to separate, but yet we have northern leaders that have asked and none of them have arrested. We have Yoruba that have asked, Tinubu who have asked, he have not arrested, but why did they not arrest Nnamdi Kanu? This is a question that I've been asking and I'm here to get the answer, because I think the reason why they arrested Nnamdi Kanu because he's an Igbo man. And you know how this Nigeria government hates the Igbo because of all lies that was told by Babangida and then the rest, that the Igbos caused a coup or caused the havoc in Nigeria, whereas the Igbo did not do that, because now he have come out to even write a book that Igbos were not the one behind the coup, that Igbos are not in the midst of Nigeria. But for me it's late, because the hatred that they've caused the Igbos is too much, and the lives that have been lost, the Igbo that have been lost, Igbo have lost their life, many lives, because of these lies that was told. But my own question is that why didn't they arrest this Igbo leader or this Yoruba leader that wrote letter to Tinubu asking for separation from Nigeria? Because this is exactly what Nnamdi Kanu was asking for. Nnamdi Kanu was even asking for a referendum. Let's know those that want to leave. If they are more, then we leave. And know that being independent is also among our fundamental rights, is also in the constitution. But why my own issue, I don't have any issue with Nnamdi Kanu saying or anything, but my only issue is that why did they arrest Nnamdi Kanu and not arrest other persons that have come out to also ask for division of Nigeria? Because you have not one person, not three persons that are not Igbos that have said for the same thing that Nnamdi Kanu said. Even for some, even Northerners came in with that threat that they would declare war if they don't divide Nigeria. That is, he only came with threats, but Kanu's own was just referendum. But yet they decided to arrest Nnamdi Kanu. For how many years now they've been charging him in court, despite Supreme Court saying that this man is a free man, but yet they keep on trying him in court. That means the government as a whole is even failing the law which they are talking about. How can the government be failing the law and then they expect the citizens that are leading to obey law? It's not done that way. We have to lead by example by doing what? By obeying the law. But the government we have in Nigeria does not obey law, and that's just the sad part of this Nigeria palaver or anything, because this is injustice and this is discrimination, that somebody can come out and say that they want to break out from Nigeria and then another person came out and said the same thing, but you are judging it based on tribe, based on religion, or based on where the person is coming from. So if he's an Igbo man, he's guilty, but if he's a Yoruba man or not a he's not guilty. That's how they are judging their case in Nigeria. And I think that what happened in that election that happened 2023, when people went to court and then the judges are not all the evidences there because of what is an Igbo man. Hey, you guys in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned, guys.